Hi, I'm Elissa Gershowitz from the Hornbook. I'm very excited to be talking to Dr. Kim Parker. Kim Parker is the director of the Crimson Summer Academy at Harvard University. She is former assistant director of teacher training at the Shady Hill School in Cambridge, Massachusetts. She holds a PhD in curriculum and instruction from the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, with her research focused on Black boys and literacy. She's the 2020 recipient of the NCTE Outstanding Elementary Educator Award. There's more.
Oh my goodness, Elissa.
She is co-founder of the hashtag Disrupt Texts and hashtag 31 Days IBPOC. She is the president of the Boston Educators Alliance of Massachusetts. She is on the Boston Citywide Parent Council. She is a co-chair of the Boston Network for Black Student Achievement Literacy Subcommittee. She was a 2019 Boston Globe Hornbook Awards committee member. She's a Hornbook reviewer and contributor. She's my good friend, and I'm so excited to be talking to her about the topic of back to school.
Oh my God. It's upon us.
Reading, a little bit of pandemic, a little bit of whatever else we come up with to talk about.
This is a very special edition. All of those things.
All of those things. Dr. Parker, can you please tell us how you are spending your summer vacation?
Oh, well, oh my goodness, I'm frozen. Sorry. I got a wonky connection every now and then, but I have been spending my summer vacation doing a few things. As the director of the Crimson Summer Academy at Harvard, we run a program for high achieving kids from Boston, Cambridge, and Somerville. So we just got done with that. And then now it's like we are a year-round program. So now it's all of the things that make the program run that we will start to do, or that I will get to do. And I've also been like camp director for my child, who has been in some camps and then he's been in mom camp. And we just are trying to make it, honestly.
How old is he again?
He is 7. He's 7 going into the 2nd grade.
Mm-hmm. And how old are the participants in the program that you?
Oh yeah, in the program, they are juniors and seniors in high school. And usually when we're fully enrolled, we have sophomores, juniors, and seniors. But because of the pandemic, we just have had juniors and seniors this last year.
Mm-hmm. So what sorts of activities, what sorts of programming, what all are you doing with the participants?
Oh yeah, so, literacy person to the core. I think that, kids have been, all of our kids were really online, remote learning for the last year and a half. They might've gone back in April or May. And so they were just fatigued. And so I teach writing. I've taught writing in that program for over a decade. And so I taught writing for one more summer. And what I really wanted to think about in terms of writing was how do you connect kids to their writing lives, right? How do you move them into a space where they know that they're competent, right? And they can write in these really powerful ways. So we spend a lot of time sort of just getting them to talk about what they've learned during the pandemic, writing, right? Just writing practice. How do you start a writing practice or restart a writing practice or can reconnect with the writing practice? So lots of writing. And then book clubs, right? We had choice books, limited choice because, we had to make some decisions, but they had 4 books from which they could choose. And then they met in their book clubs with their friends, and pretty low stakes, right? Just read the book and talk about it and do some writing about it. Writing that you wanted to do, and then sort of building the community that way. So those were, and then they also take a quantitative reasoning class. They do some college prep stuff, just thinking about colleges, self-care stuff, and science.
What were they reading?
Let me see if I can remember.
Yeah.
Right. They read Here for It by Eric Thomas. They read Behold the Dreamers. They read Gabby, A Girl in Pieces. by Isabel Quintero, and they read From a Whisper to a Rallying Cry, the Vincent Chen book. So those were the choices. We want to give them a range. So if they felt like they had not been reading at all over the school year, which many of them have not, then they had like they didn't have to feel like they couldn't do it. So, and all of the books were really well received. Like they showed up to the book clubs, they read those books. And usually when I was much more like closely tied to the classroom, like I would usually teach in the summer and then go back and teach high school kids like full time. I would always try things out in the summer that I would be like, let me try out with these kids and see if it works. And book clubs are always a hit. So for the second year in a row, right, it's been like right on for them.
Oh, so anybody listening, one of my questions was, how can we sort of bring these programs or projects that we know are engaging kids and getting, exactly what we want is kids engaged and interested and proactive in their approach to books, literacy, writing, all of that. And it sounds like things like book clubs, having choice.
Yeah, and also like really engaging timely topics. I mean, the Vincent Chen book is like just came out, and I mean, I think with all of this Asian American violence against Asian Americans, it's a really timely book and really well written and accessible. So I feel like teenagers like the ripped from the headlines stuff, and that worked for them. And like Gabby, I feel like has been out for a while, but it's just like it's kind of timeless. It's accessible. Kids really want to read it. It's like a multi-genre, I feel like, in some capacity, and that worked for them. And then Eric Thomas is hilarious. So also like kids want something that's light, right? They want to laugh. They don't want to be like beaten over the head with the fact that we've been in the pandemic and things are hard. Like I work with kids who have like a lot of stuff going on sometimes. So I don't know, escape is really nice. I want to escape. I know you do too.
Back to the camp director for 7-year-olds discussion. How do you keep, because your son is very engaged in reading. He's
among other things. He's got a lot going on. He's got a lot going on.
Interested in a lot. And you have your, academic work, and you also have a human being who is with you. How does that stuff inform each other?
I feel like I'm really attuned now into how young children learn to read, and what they have access to. And like my degree is in literacy and curriculum and instruction, but it's much more with like grade 4 and up. And so it's just been about how and I remember someone was like, I think it was a librarian who said, don't worry, when he's like, barring any sort of like delays, when he's ready to read, he's just going to start reading. And Dr. Teresa Perry was like, he's so interior that once he learns to read, I think you'll see like lots of his frustration go away. And, right, like lo and behold, he just like was like, all right, I'm gonna start reading. And that's what he's done. And so I have to fight between being like, you have to read 20 minutes a day, to be like, oh, and I also, it's interesting because I would always tell people, just let kids read what they want. Now I'm like, you've been reading like 40 graphic novels. So I was like, here I am. Here's me with my comeuppance. So that's what I am learning. I'm learning much more about myself and my own like stuff and my own biases. And, like little kids love like the same thing the big kids do, right? And like gross humor, like 7-year-old humor. I'm like, this is corny. He's like, ha. So I get it, right? We need more of those books that are accessible and easier for kids to read, but also sort of like moving through the levels or whatever. I don't even like believe in those things, but sometimes you're like, all right, this looks like you can read it. Or thank God for librarians and like teachers who are like, even though this looks like this is like for 7-year-olds, it's actually for 14-year-olds. Hello, manga. I was like, is there manga for 7-year-olds? Please. And also what we are learning is that, right, he's like really into like anime and manga. I feel like that's what it's like a progression. Makes sense. but there are so few Black anime characters. And
Mm.
so I'm doing lots of like critical literacy work in sort of ways. I'm not like, let's do critical literacy, but he's the way that he sees people in anime, they're mostly like a particular type of person. And I've been like, okay, but you can draw other, like there are Black anime characters, right? Like there are Black manga characters. And so then we have to find them. And then I'm like, where are the ones for 7-year-olds, second graders and things like that? So he, you know, he reads whatever he wants and he reads a lot. I think the best investment I got this summer was a book light. And so like we only have really one, I try to, you know, keep the rules to summer at a minimum, but one of the rules is that you can read as long, you can stay up as late as you want, as long as you're reading. So he does that. Or, but you know, like camp, when he's in a real camp, not mom camp, he's exhausted. So he like goes to sleep and then gets up in the morning and reads and reports back.
Yeah.
And, you know, like we do a little bit of like, I do a little bit of, you know, incentivizing, right? You read this, you can, he's obsessed with like the Dollar Tree and Five Below. And so he just, you know, I just give him a little punch, got some cards off Amazon, reading, and then he goes and cashes it in. And, you know, like you can buy a lot at the Dollar Tree.
Mm-hmm. Well, and to put a little plug in for Frugal Books, they've got a pretty good manga selection too. We were there, and anything they don't have, they will.
Is it like Black people?
I'm trying to remember what we saw there last. I mean, you know, they'll order whatever.
Yeah, that's why I love Frugal. I
Yeah.
love it. I mean, the thing about it is that I'm trying to purchase fewer books because we have too many. I mean, I just am at the point where and I, you know, thank God for the BPL, Boston Public Library, because I have lots of those books, right? That's the holds all come in at once. So I'm trying to read my way through things. But yes, when we're actually going to Frugal because he's been reading books by L.J. Baptiste, who is a comic book artist, and has also like gone to a couple of his workshops. I mean, L.J. Baptiste is incredible for teaching children how to draw, how to illustrate. And so like we take lessons with him every now and then. And his books are at Frugal. And we went to Frugal last week, but Frugal was on vacation. So we're going back probably next week, week 2 of mom camp, to get some.
And this Saturday, I want to say, is Free Comic Day.
Is it Free Comic Day? Oh my goodness. I'll have to
fact check me before anyone goes to a comic store, but I'm pretty sure.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Right. But
yeah, I mean, it's a thing. We're in the comics.
One of the surprising things to me when having, you know, a similar child who's really into a lot and lots of energy, very extroverted, you know, the sort of child that you think needs to get out their energy by running around, and they do. But it was the same thing when he learned how to read. It really was a way to sort of self-regulate and calm down.
Yep.
And so it seems like that maybe teachers already know this, but the idea that a kid can, you know, appear to be something, and you think, well, that's that type of kid, and that's what their activities are, and that's how they'll be. If you hand them a book, sometimes it won't work, but sometimes that's exactly what they need. Even if they're, you know, running around in circles, especially if they're running around in circles, that's a way to sort of ground them and let their imagination happen. Which
that's
was
right.
Surprise.
Right.
Yeah.
And also to, you know, to give them the time and the space. I mean, I worry that when we go back in the fall, there's going to be all of this frenzy to catch kids up when, you know, I feel like the things that we should preserve are the time and the spaces for kids to read whatever they want. Right. And I think that that's what's really, I will never read all of the books that my child reads. I'm just not going to be there, but I will always have discussions with him about what he's reading. I will always ask questions about it. I will always be interested. And I will never tell him that he can't read something. And I think that that's where we get in this little like fine line sometimes with teachers and parents to be like, I don't know if that's appropriate. I don't know if you should be reading that. I don't know this now. Let them figure it out, right? I feel like that's what No one ever told me what I couldn't read, right? I feel like if they did, I was just going to read it anyway.
Yeah.
But
You had your
you
own book
know,
light under the covers.
right, right. And that's what they need, is that we need to be real serious about preserving kids' reading lives, right? At all costs. And making sure that they have libraries and books with stuff that they want to read, not these boring
Yeah.
things. I read a lot of boring things over the summer that are terrible also. And I will not recommend any of those. But that's my concern, is that we gotta make sure that kids are able to read and write in ways that are powerful to them. Even high school kids, like there's so much like, oh, we have to like write in these particular ways. And I was like, like 5-paragraph essay is not the thing. I was like, look at all of the things you read online, right? Look at all the formats. They're all different, right? Pick one of those that works for you and like spend some time doing that.
How much do you have to sort of cultivate that for kids who are either self-identified or have been told, well, you're not a reader, you're not the kind of kid, or I don't like books, reading's not for me. How do you sort of overcome that? Well, first of all, do you think every kid is that, but they just don't necessarily know? And if so, or if not, how do you sort of overcome
Mhm.
a perceived resistance?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm always thinking about like, where does the resistance come from? I mean, he was at a camp for a while and he came home being like, oh, like we read to him every night. And we've been reading The Magnificent Makers, really
Mm.
great series. And the Zoe and Sassafras series. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
there are a million of those, which great. I've heard that they are scientifically sound from a scientist. So I was like, all right, we can read this. But he came home from one of them, one of those camps, and he said, like, I don't want you all to read to me anymore, because I think he said it was like girly or something, and I was like, what? But like that was the culture of the camp and the kids. And I said, and so like for 2 nights in a row, he was like, I don't want you to read to him. I almost broke my heart, almost broke my partner's heart. And we were like, okay, you know what? We're just gonna, you can just go to bed. We're just gonna read to each other in the hallway because I want to know what's happening in The Magnificent Makers. You can just go to sleep because we
Smart.
hear you. And so we just proceeded to read, and really like it took him about 2 days to be like, oh my god, I want to, like, he was back to himself. But I think it's the culture, right? Like, what do we do? Where are the spaces? Is reading punitive too?
Yeah.
Right? Like it's like sit down and read. And I think that's what was happening there.
Mhm.
And the books were boring. So of course you're going to be like, I want to read this. And again, it's the kids who need the most choice, the most support, the most like engagement with reading that get no choice and no engagement. And it's a punishment.
Yeah.
So it was no wonder. I mean, I think that what was in our favor was that like we are readers. So like I was like, no one's ever gonna like, don't you come in here with that mess. And I'm gonna like turn it. So I mean, I think those are the things, is that what to think about, like what are we doing to kids, right? And also teachers, parents, like can we read something with them or in front of them or near them or let them see us reading? Because, and it doesn't even have to be, I know that some parents are like, well, I don't love to read, or I'm not a strong reader. Like we read in all of these really powerful ways. And so like, I want people to feel empowered about like the ways that we read. We are all readers and writers, right? You read things, you write things, you're a reader. You write, you're a writer. And to really do that, because otherwise, right, they get older, they see people not doing it, they think that that's the thing. So I think the more that we can sort of build communities in that capacity, even if like I've been known to go to the playground with books and just do some reading, right? Sometimes I'll just read with Elliot. And like we'll just be reading on a bench, and then these kids will just come over and I'll be like, right, and then I just leave the books, because again, right, we got a million books, like it's fine to give them out. And I think it's those moments, right? Kids love being read to, even the big ones. And we just need to do that, and just know that like those moments and spaces exist everywhere. And it's really on us. It's on us. If a kid comes to me and doesn't like reading, then it's my job to make sure that they have a positive association with reading when they leave. They might not love reading, but they might not hate it either. right? Like that, it might just be something where they feel like they're doing, and it's like the regular time, right? We have like family reading hour where, you know, you can read a book, you read a magazine, I don't care, read something. You can listen to a book on tape, you can listen to a podcast, great, right? But we're all doing the thing together. And, you know, right, like it's okay to abandon books too. I have these fun discussions with my child about like, I didn't like this one, I didn't like that one, I'm taking it back to the library today, but like I didn't like it, I don't like it, you don't have to like it, just like find something that works for you. And I think we need to expect and extend that same grace to kids.
Yeah, yeah. What do you see particular challenges for this year, this school year coming up? What was last year like? What are your experiences last year prepare you for this year coming up, or not prepare you for?
Right, right. I mean, I think it was, I feel like, again, right, you learn so much when you actually have to do the thing, right? Parenting during the pandemic was brutal. And we made it, right? Like, it's fine. I didn't understand sort of what kids, particularly Black and Latinx kids, have really experienced until they came back this summer. And they're high achieving kids, right? So they're like the kids in schools who are doing all of their homework, who are asking for more, who are doing that. And they were so tired and so like drained and just like over it in ways that I was like, oh, it's going to take really special teachers to say something happened to you. And right, I noticed that right, like to address that, to grieve with them, and also to say, and right, in this moment, this is what we're going to do. And so I feel like there's this interesting tension between sort of getting caught in moments of like pity and remediation, and as compared to deep empathy and compassion and grace, and also being like, we're going to push it, right? Because there are some things that they're going to need to know and be able to do. And right, we still have to be able to figure that out. And it could be a completely different reshaping of anything we've done, right? Like what I've been most sort of distressed by is how quickly people have been like, okay, we're just going to go back and do the same things, when that's not what kids need. They just need something different. And I would say that I would root it really in community and getting them to read and write again, letting them know that they can do it and that they're expected to do it, and show them how and write and read with them. And that goes from little kids to big kids too. I know that we're really, really worried about sort of younger children, but you know, like they also need to know that like reading is great and writing is great. And you know, like you can write in all these really powerful ways, and they should do it.
Okay, you're back.
I was frozen.
Well, I mean, the last thing I heard you say was reading is great. So
right. That's it. And they should do it. That's it.
Well, and what you were talking about with the, you know, the empathy and the compassion and the, you know, building the interior lives back up, that's what one of the many things that reading does. And to be able to have that time and space and the common experience and the discussion and be able to express, you know, your feelings through someone else's experiences, or whatever reading does for you, that's one very natural way for that to happen.
Absolutely.
How has your experience with teachers and librarians working together been? How do you think that the librarians, for schools that are lucky enough to have librarians, or you know, public libraries,
yeah,
what do you see the role of librarians in this piece?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like librarians have always been good about saying, tell me who your kids are, right? And I can suggest some things that they might like. Also securing resources for teachers. I think teachers are going to be really busy. So if there are ways, like, I feel like librarians have that really powerful gift of like access. And how can you help teachers to get those books to kids? How can you get resources to kids? How can you also help teachers procure, is that the word, books for their classroom libraries? Because I think teachers want to have those classroom libraries, but they don't know how to get the books. how can you sort of work together or even broker purchases that sort of go directly into classrooms. Yeah, I mean, also schools are really fortunate if they have a librarian,
Yeah.
which is its own problem.
Yeah. Yeah. Which reminds me and leads me to my next question. I will never forget seeing Floyd Cooper in the library where you were working at the
No.
time. I mean, that just watching him do his, his erasing
Yeah.
technique, it was such a memory. And he was speaking to teachers and about all of ways to incorporate, books, reading, illustration, all of that. There have been a lot of losses,
Oh,
big
awful.
losses in the Black books community this year in the past couple of years. Most recently, Eloise Greenfield, and you're the one who you even told
I
me
know.
about
I was like, Elissa.
that. So, how
Oh,
do you see people honoring their memory, keeping their work alive, and moving their legacy forward?
yeah. I mean, I was so sad, right? It was like one after the other after the other. I was like, ugh. I'm ready to get off this ride, because like these are so important, these folks. And so I feel like probably the most basic way we can honor their legacy is to read their books and share them, and keep them in circulation, right? Like I just sort of went through our collection and was like, oh, I love this one and that one, and going to Frugal and ordering the ones that we don't have, because I think that it's also memory, right? If we don't sort of share those books with teachers, with children, with families, they'll never know them, right? And so I feel like that's the work next, is for all of us who have loved these people who have now become our ancestors, is that we have to make sure that we commit to sharing their work with everyone, to normalizing the fact that they are like part of this robust canon, and writing and researching about them as well, right? Because that's also how we keep their memory alive, and also to keep the excellence. They were excellent. All of these folks are excellent. And so that's how we honor them.
All right. Did you have anything else you would like to share or make sure people knew before about back to school or anything else?
Oh my goodness. I just hope that we can all go back in some capacity. That's it. I mean, I don't know. People are trying so hard, and
Yeah.
I hope we all make it. I think we will. I think we will. I just think that it's gonna take all of us.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much, Dr. Kim
You're
Parker.
welcome.
So wonderful to talk to you.
Always, always. Thank you.